Let's talk about posthumous albums and how to stop its misuse. Posthumous albums are albums that are released after an artist has passed away. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry that has often released music that artists have never even approved of or are often half-finished. They take their old demos, their unfinished songs, and even sometimes their image after death and use it for their own benefit to promote new singles and even commercial products. Some companies even buy dead celebrities' intellectual rights and images, kind of like a modern-day grave robber.
And here's my major argument.
With Fate, I feel like that was bullshit.
Posthumous profit off of him,
I'm saying that at the end of the
including
day,
displaying the quality
an artist's name and legacy being grossly exploited posthumously.
This is a 6-year-old me, with all the swagger and hip of a young boy growing up in the late 2000s. Despite this, I grew up listening to many songs made after an artist's death, and even before I was born, like Michael Jackson while my dad was cooking up an amazing pasta, or Tupac because my older brother took me to school in the morning. But sometimes posthumous songs we grew up loving can horribly misrepresent an artist without us even knowing. This often happens when an artist's estates and labels exploit their unreleased tracks for profit, sometimes even distorting the artist's visions and legacy. According to a study done by Millet Journal, album sales increased on average by 54.1% after death, and that the relative increase in sales is higher for the artist's better albums, which clearly shows the profit benefits for posthumous releases and motives to exploit artists. In the United States, especially weak moral right laws make this misuse of artists' music shockingly easy. Only around 38 states in the country have some sort of limitation for artists' music after death. They don't even have a federal law for this huge problem. They only offer federal protection against distortion or unwanted release after death for visual art. Music fans around the world saw this unwanted and shockingly disrespectful posthumous treatment from Prince's estate when they released his 2021 album, Welcome to America. It received mixed reviews upon release because many fans saw this release as unfitting for Prince since it contained many songs that were unfinished and not up to a strict self-imposed standard. In Adrian York's discussion on Prince's new album, he said, "But for an artist who was so notoriously controlling about his product, it's unclear whether this is something he would have wished for," which perfectly encapsulates the overall negative reviews from Prince fans and critics. Another example of this is the horribly released skins by XXXTentacion by his estate, which was positively reviewed by both critics and fans. Economic pressures from labels or their estates cloud the artist's true intent with their unreleased music. But there is a solution to combat this type of exploitation of artists' music while they're alive. New legislation can be put into place to limit the use of unreleased music after an artist passes away, and artists can make contracts to combat this type of exploitation of their own music. An extreme example of this is by artist Anderson .Paak, who tattooed his arm saying that nobody can release any posthumous music after his death. Although this is quite extreme, it shows that musicians think about this problem but don't have the legislation or contracts to make their own decision about their music after they die.